This is Lynn Schnebly with Educating with Wisdom, and I'm having sort of an emergency session here because of what's going on with Thomas Markle. So this particular section is called Calling All Teachers. All right? Calling All Teachers, the British Crown and Meghan Markle have destroyed Thomas Markle. Do I make myself clear? Now, I know that sounds awful, but I have been tracking what's going on with this man for some time. And for those of you that have seen anything about my YouTube channel, you can see that the government sent somebody claiming to be Meghan Markle's dad to me last year to harass me in August, and it's all on the YouTube channel. So this woman is completely fallacious. Now, I'm calling on the teachers because the teachers are really in tune to things like critical literacy, primary archetypes and paradigms, cause and effect. They have psycholinguistics. They understand morphemes, they understand roots, they understand gender and language, they understand modeling behavior, they understand restorative justice, ABCs, anticipatory behavior, consequences, functional behavioral assessments. And if I look at all of the professions that they are out there, and I'm going to say I never planned on being a teacher, and I'm the most blackballed teacher. You're going to see why I'm blackballed, and it's because my particular documents are going to give the education. If you can help me a little bit so I can get them all out there, they will give the teachers more clout than they could ever envision, but they have to be willing to get on the right track. And what the British did not like, and what Obama did not like, now what the British did not like was that I was trying to put together the Union of North America, and that I had firm, absolutely firm evidence, irrefutable evidence of the existence of God and the use of string theory. Oh, so the teachers who know me don't really know. Okay. Yes. And that as a good Samaritan, but also as an educator, I gave these things into the powers of be. And because I did not fall under the Espionage Act, but my work has been used for timings of wars, you name it, and I'm going to show it to you because it actually went to the military, it went to the Canadians, and the British have gotten their hands on it. Now, what they didn't like is that I was trying to put together the Union of North America, and I let them know that in 2011. Barack Obama did not like that idea as well because it wasn't part of his larger global agenda. And the British didn't like it because they're not going to do it without North America. I mean, they're just not going to. And they've had their hands after us forever. So I'm going to say something very clearly. They, meaning Barack Obama and the British, set Hillary Clinton up to be impeached. That's it. All right? I had to vote for Trump because I knew Hillary Clinton needed to be impeached. I knew that my records had to have landed on her desk, and those were some of the records that had to be erased. I have been cyber-stalked, cyber-monitored. What goes on with G4S? G4S Youth Services says that it's now true core behavioral solutions, that they sold it. They didn't sell it. When you go into the Florida business account, you'll find that they simply changed the name, and when you go into the registrar, they made it, when they say that it's from a foreign country, it's out of Virginia. It's still G4S Youth Services. Because of my work, because they weren't providing services for their students, because they were providing fraud all over the place, and because they have all kinds of things that they lift off my desk constantly. I get the telephone calls from them. I'm going to show you. But first, let me show you about the Meghan Markle problem, because this is a huge problem. So I'm going to start by building fraud. And what you don't understand is that I actually reported about the Meghan Markle problem, and I was going to put it up online last Wednesday. That's when I taped it. So we have to go back into that previous mail. But I have the other things on YouTube on Educating with Wisdom, and I have the Russian deal, introduction to the Russian deal, and then the need for Australia and New Zealand to come over here. It's all in there. It's all over. It's all in there. okay? That would have left the British on the outside. And the reason why that's going to happen is because China is digging up the world, trying to take care of itself. And equability of the Five Eyes.
Oh, wait a minute. Here, hold on. I wanted to put this on pause. I paused the wrong thing. I wanted to say I've spoken, bad picture. I've spoken with other Canadians about the problems that we're foreseeing in the Union of North America, and they honestly don't know where Meghan Markle came from. Blah! I don't want to see that picture. They honestly do not know where Meghan Markle came from. That's bad. She doesn't make any sense to them. And so when I discussed some of the things that I was talking about, and I said, New Zealand and Australia need to come here, they said, we have no problem with that. That makes perfect sense. So there are a lot of Canadians who think the Union of North America makes a whole lot more sense than being a part of Europe, which is what the Francophones were negotiating, okay? And they don't happen to like the whole thing that's going on, and they don't happen to like the Crown. So here, let's go back to this now. So I'm not alone in some of these things. Let's go back. Wah! Where's that? What happened to it? Let's put it on pause. Before I go into this time stamping that I'm going to show you, about 2 months ago there was this whole big thing of Meghan Markle being baptized, or maybe it's going on 3 months ago, and that you had to be baptized and confirmed in order to receive communion. So you will see that she went to a Catholic school. She supposedly was brought up as an Episcopalian. She was a part of the evangelical, which was, completely set up World Vision out of Canada. That was part of the setup to get her prepared to be in the limelight for the Crown, and the Obamas helped her with that. But I just wanted to show you, I've been baptized 3 times, and it's normally really, see, I'm really kind of consecrated to God, but that's a whole different issue. Here's a copy of my certificate, and I wanted to show you that even the Catholics accepted my Episcopal birth certificate. So what was Meghan Markle? How could she have been in this organization and not have been baptized even once? So here we go. St. John's, this is a copy of, for my confirmation, and I was born December 12th, 1958, the Guadalupe. It goes right back to Artemis of Ephesus, and I'll go into that later. She is about the center of the galaxy. Okay, here we go. St. Joseph's Catholic Church. When I became Catholic because of the choices that the Episcopal Church made, and I just have a holy moment when I have communion. I can't help it. Everything gets very quiet and peaceful for me, so I need communion. You're saying, why don't you go have communion right now, Lynn? Okay, St. Joseph Stewart's, this is to certify that Lynn Schnebly, child of, and it was John Gray Schnebly, baptized on the 18th day of January 2015 at St. Mark's Episcopal Church, received her first Holy Communion after my confirmation here. All right? Now, the Catholic Church that has a pretty closed system, and so do many evangelicals, and some Lutherans. There are others that also have closed systems. They accepted my baptism. When they said that Meghan Markle was following in Kate's footsteps, if Kate had been a Catholic, she wasn't baptized again. She was simply confirmed. This is highly unusual. Here is a copy of my certificate of baptism when my parents were having marital problems. So my mother was very much a part of that problem. So anyway, she grew up Catholic. They decided to try the Catholic Church again because it's where they were married. He had agreed to bring the children up Catholic. My brother was born when Peter was baptized. The priest said, well, her baptism is really fine, but, if we're having a new fresh start with everything, Lynn can be baptized at the same time, all right? But the Anglican Church would never ask for it. This was simply because my parents had these particular problems, okay? By the way, if you notice, in all these cases, I have godparents or sponsors. I had a sponsor when I became godparents for the Episcopal Church. It was my Aunt Alma and my Uncle Bill. And then down here, I have godparents down here, my grandfather, Barbara Pisani, all Sagittarians, by the way. And Peter Cody, the priest, that's my brother's name, and that's his son's name. Like, this is a miracle. When I got it, I felt so much better when I saw this. So this was supposed to happen. All right, so I didn't have to do this. The priest said, but my parents wanted a fresh start. Confirmation. So Meghan Markle could have always had communion in the Episcopal Church, and I'm going to show that soon. Here's a confirmation. I took my name Elizabeth because I've been confirmed. I've been baptized 3 times, confirmed twice. Oh, the 3rd time was with Brethrens when I went away on a retreat with a woman by the name of Mary. 13 years old. They asked me if I had ever been totally submerged. I said no, but I've been baptized twice, and I've given my life over to the Lord a few times. And they said, oh, well, then you have to be, submerged 3 times in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So that happened in a lake. All right. So there's just more of this here. I was a member of the Women's Interfaith. I've always done these things. Here I'm showing you Reverend Stokes, why I left St. Paul's, and I love St. Paul's, and I'm since also a member there because St. Paul came and got me out of a horrible marriage with my husband, and I can't believe I'm saying that because I'm a feminist, and that's why I will never leave St. Paul. He showed me where I could go to in the Bible to find a way out, and apologized for how his work had been used, and said it was never his intention that women would be used that way. But I'm letting them know that I was abused by people that were sexually deviant or people that were homosexuals. And I've let him know that these people were very misogynistic towards me, even though I had fought for them. And my husband was also very misogynistic, and he was, I don't know what he is, my former husband, okay? And I understand why people choose that, but it's still not a healthy choice. And it is, in fact, a choice. Because if you go back to ancient Rome and ancient Greece, if you look at the number of bisexuals and homosexuals that were men, it's incredible. And yet women were not supposed to do any of these things. All right? So what happened to men? What forced them to change? Is it because back then they had pictures of naked men with erections, which Greece had all over the place, and they also had the statue of Helios, which was this huge naked man that stood in Rhodes, and then there's Nero and that was in Rome. Oh my God, it was disgusting, just absolutely grotesque. But here I go on to say the linking of black or women's rights to the acceptance of homosexuality is a beautiful creation of God to that of pathology. And I'm letting African Americans know, why have you gotten on this bandwagon? What is your civil rights? And I'm not saying that I want anything bad to happen to these other people, but let's get the paradigms correct, okay? So the bringing of life, and that, is that equal to a defecating anus with all the diseases associated with it? That's a tough one, isn't it? What is misogyny? So I'm saying the same thing to people that are African American or blacks. The act of, and I've wrote it to the Law Society, I've written it all over the place. I have written it to the Florida Commission on Human Relations. I've repeated this constantly. Even Barack Obama knows that I repeat these things. And there is no sin in being black. There's no sin in being a woman. Excuse me, it doesn't. Think about it. Think about what you're saying and doing. Okay, let's move on here. Because these people, Meghan Markle and them, notice they're all heterosexuals, but holy smokes, do they ever use homosexuals? They use homosexuals to get what they want. And they don't care if you're healthy, and they don't care if you're ever really loving. They really don't care. They just use you. I didn't use them. Okay, let's go out of this one. Open communion. Oh, come on, open up. Open communion. Here we go. Affirmation, who has open communion? Well, the Church of England has open communion, so anybody that's a baptized Christian can go. Here we go. I'm getting you ready for the Lost Book of Nostradamus. This was written over 300 years ago. They found it in, I guess, the Vatican Library. Anyway, this is actually, people know that this is the Matterhorn, some people don't think it's the Matterhorn. It is in fact the Matterhorn. I found this in 2015. It made sense in 2016 after I contacted the Germans for asylum. Here is the Matterhorn. It was summited in July. So he's letting you know. He's giving you certain anchors because whenever this comes up, it's letting you know that it's in July like this. So here's the Matterhorn. It's summited in July. This is 1865. And this is the Smoking Skull. Maybe that is when Van Gogh finished the Smoking Skull. All right. Every time you see that now in the Lost Book of Nostradamus, that could be Barack Obama or Meghan Markle spitting that out. She did not go to communion. What did she do for Easter Sunday after this big to-do of being this great Christian? Oh, she went off to her mother's probably to do her obeing witchcraft stuff. Oh yes, I've got an email from them on that one. Here's Van Gogh, there's the Matterhorn, there's the Van Gogh. All right, wait until you see that one. Take a look at this woman who's not really a practicing Christian. Here she is. This is to commemorate all of the New Zealanders and the Australians that died in World War I. Look at them. They're all talking, and why is the eye on her? What did the photographers say? Everybody else look like you're talking and we want to just see Meghan Markle? Are you kidding? That's just, that's sick. Here we go. The NAACP, I'm letting African Americans know, and the world know, that it was really initiated by women, all right, and Jewish people. And it was biracial, and he was in this. But they first got together and said, we need to do this. And then African Americans picked it up. The formation was here. Now, let me ask you something. If we're going to talk about me supporting African Americans, which is what I have, and wait until you see my documents, how I got into trouble supporting kids. It's not funny. African American girls, all kinds of kids. It doesn't really matter. Here we go. I got into trouble when I reported that people had their children in junior high urinating out of the back of the portable rather than walking them to the bathroom, and these were mostly African American kids, and African American administrators recommended it to me, and I'm like, no, I am never going to do this, and I have their names. Boy, that was part of what caused me to be, that's another whole thing. Now, I'd like the African Americans to consider why you would think that the civil rights movement would have worked in the United States. Let's take a look at, I always thought Martin Luther King had something going for him. I'm totally disgusted with him right now. The women's rights movement, the National Organization of Women, was undercut, and it was undercut by Hugh Hefner, but it was also undercut by this man, Martin Luther King Jr. He had his longest interview ever right after he won his Nobel Peace Prize. He went to Playboy. He had his longest interview. Jesse Jackson, all right? Al Sharp, extensive work with them. Excuse me, how would you like it? Playboy, how would you with everything that's been written about pornography and how women are hurt, with everything that's happened with Playboy, with the impact of Playboy on women, it's horrible. They were not liberating for women. And Playboy and Penthouse and these places, especially Hugh Hefner, he was really pushing abortion for women because he wanted to free up white women to be able to have free sex. That was basically it. And he didn't want men to have any repercussions. So this man goes and he does his longest interview ever with Playboy. Now, how would he like it if some Nobel Prize winning woman, in order to make her piece about women, went to the head of the Ku Klux Klan, who had this great international magazine of racism, and gave them the longest interview? So when you wonder what happened to the African American, when Mrs. Obama says, well, the civil rights movement, you need to make it changed. Holy smokeroonies, folks, you undercut yourself. Instead of him coming to women and saying, hey, God called women, had them too. And the Garden of Eden story is really something very different. And the land is really going to Sarah because she's really the noble one, and we need to create the noble leaders from Sarah, not just the age of the fathers, which is so controlling. He could have come out and said these things. Instead, he gives his interview in Playboy. You want to know what happened to the civil rights movement? African American men. Now, if you gave us African American women and white women, I'm sure we'd get it done. Ann Dunham, including African American women, why is she so invisible? Let's do the math here. Barack Obama's father was 24. Her name is Stanley Ann Dunham. She's another Sagittarian. Wasn't even 18 years old. Right? He sexually violated her. 3 months later, she had to get married. She didn't know he was married. She didn't know he had children. He's 6 years older than she is. He lies about his marital status to get into the country. Then he lies when she can't even get a real divorce because she can't even really be married because he's married to somebody else. When Barack Obama makes it sound like his mother had issues, of course his mother had issues. Look at his father. Look at what his father did to her. She couldn't have an abortion. She was violated, folks. This woman was violated. And when we talk about how his grandmother was racist, I don't think, no, Barack, you are racist. Your father was racist. Your grandmother was just afraid because of what she had seen and heard. Here we go. That's terrible. And then when she got a divorce, who was going to marry her? I mean, that woman, Barack Obama did not go out for politics until right after his mother died. I mean, that would have been hard to go out with a story that isn't true. That poor woman, not even 7, she wasn't even 18. Was that her birthday present when she turned 18? Oak of Mara. Trying to get through this quickly. The Antichrist is going to show up before, the Antichrist, the oak dies right before the Antichrist shows up, by the way. His middle name means Hussein. Hussein, the middle name, is equivalent to Apollo, a beautiful or good young man. It also means the destroyer. Now, the Antichrist is to Satan as Yeshua or the Messiah is to God the Father, which doesn't mean that there isn't God the Mother. Christ said he represents the Father, not that there wasn't the Mother. There is also the Mother. That's why it says Eli. What Barack Obama didn't like, okay, now we're beginning to find string theory. Evidence of God, all right? All of the major leaders of the Allies in World War II, all 7 of them, all related to Europe, Allies, okay, Franco, Winston Churchill, George VI, de Gaulle, Stalin, Mackenzie King, who was considered to be the best prime minister Canada has ever had, Robert Gordon Menzies, also the same can be said of Australia. They were all Sagittarians. That is statistically impossible that is a random act. It cannot be. Now, of course, that's not Barack Obama. But what did he do? He sat on every major Sagittarian he could. He made them all work for them. Kerry he put in, he took Comey and he put them in. He made sure that our mouths had to be shut, and he sat on me left and right. All right? Our great leaders, Abraham Lincoln and also Roosevelt, FDR, they were all Aquarian 3s. They were Aquarian with Jupiter going over them. I found the pattern of 4 earthquakes in Christchurch. That was when I reached out with G4S with the British and let the Americans know that, look, we have to bring New Zealand over. They don't have a place to be because this is a real pattern that's happening. And it happened over a 16-month period, and they were major 4 events. And now we know that they have 9s. All right, Barack Obama has the same birthday, August the 4th, as Meghan Markle. All biracial, fathers disappearing, fathers problematic, fathers, and Except Meghan Markle has her wonderful mommy, who isn't so wonderful. You will see. Okay? She just sent her husband's wedding band back in a... All right, now when I asked why, how do you know? How can you see me? And I asked the FBI that in December. How do they see me when I'm in the bathroom? And how is this spying going on? I don't have any electronic devices. How do they know when I'm intimate? Like even with myself, or when I'm changing, or when I'm dressing myself, or any of these things. And I said, I don't, there's no camera, there's nothing in the area. I have looked for everything. And the guy at the FBI said, you'll never see it. So I'm letting everybody know right now, the United States has been working on cloning. Hello. And they got this one down. You will never see it. And thank God I'm legal, because they will catch what you're doing and blackmail you. So this is OBing. OBing is a very terrible, terrible form of black magic. They work with the dead, and it's centered in Jamaica and Africa, but it's centered in Jamaica. It's considered to be the worst. I get it again here. When I'm asking what's happening, this is 2016, right after I contacted the Germans, and as Meghan Markle is at the White House for the first time, OBing. All right? Maybe her father was Obia. That's why she went on vacations to slums in Jamaica and Mexico. These are centers for the Lion of Judah. Now, not everything, I'm going to, here we go, I'm going to be quiet. Here we go. Barack Obama did his spiel in 2008 in a mock, and this is called the throne of Satan. This is Pergamon. So this is where Zeus was. It was the throne of Satan. Here's the sun standing in the front. Okay? Meghan Markle, I'm going to say to the homosexual community, you have been used instead of changing the paradigm. And the paradigm, you're all normal, healthy people. There's not a problem. It's the whole structure and definition that needs to be revamped. Okay. Handsome best friend, Meghan Markle, Marcus Anderson. He's the one that really fixed her up. Oh my goodness, when you are in charge of these kinds of things for hotels and that, you are in a key position to blackmail. Think about what you know about people and all the clandestines. This Miles Markle last August said that Meghan Markle and the prince have been seeing each other for the last 3 years. That means 2014. They had been seeing each other since 2014. And here, this was written here, but she goes to the White House. There's another article, and she goes to the White House. Get this. Where is it? It says that it's with Mr. Patrick. Oh, here we go. There I was. It's actually another article that says it's St. Patrick's Day 2016 at the White House for St. Patrick's Day, and I run into John Fitzpatrick, who runs these great hotels in New York, and he said, this is my friend Meghan. And he said, do you know Meghan? And so anyway, she's already in the White House in March of 2016, and Mr. Fitzpatrick was over the Hotels Association for the United States. Now imagine all the dirt you get on people when you do this, and how you help to set things up. And then he was over it for New York. Oh my goodness, it makes me scared just to think. And now they're part of this? Really? He's 50? No, that was not his date. That was a put in. Meghan Markle, Humanitarian Global. This is a setup in Canada. First-hand development. How did she get to be Global Ambassador for World Vision? Well, it makes absolutely no sense. Or that she moved into this women's program, or for anything else. She has no background in it whatsoever. What did she do before she was an actress? I mean, because I did all kinds of things in college. I did all kinds of things as a young adult. What did she do before Barack Obama picked her up? Okay, let's move on here. Now we've got to go see Mr. Markle. I want you to see the red dragon if you wonder how anybody could. The red dragon is very prominent in Revelations. The red dragon only came back into Britain in 1958 when the Queen consecrated Wales, took it from Wales, and her son is Prince of Wales. So we know it's at this point and not when it was the Tudors. How do we know it's at this point and not at the Tudors? Well, we have women that are reading in the church, and we have women that are serving wine in the church. So this happened. They are not showing priests yet, but it's showing when the red dragon first comes in. All right. There's another one I have up here. So this is, here we go. Oh, you're going to see the red dragon, and you're going to see the red lion with the little red cap on it, and you're going to see the ugly unicorn, and it's in the ear of the priest holding down the woman. There's all kinds of things that Nostradamus has time-stamped. Where's the other one I had? Oh, here we go. There we go. He's loving that red dragon. There he is. And so I actually called out to the bishop, and this was before the baptism occurred. And if you were to look up the timestamps on my documents, I've been doing this for months. I've just had such technology problem. And I have no money. I basically live out of a car and out of a storage unit. And that's that we will get into. Let's take a look at the royal invitations so that we understand. And then I'm going to go back into the Thomas Markle screenshots. I think it's here. There we go. Now, they use color people. They use people of color. They use African people. They use children. I mean, we're talking about people that are using you, folks. I don't use. When somebody's talking about a God, I'm here to witness about God, and of course I'm here to get help for myself. Now, this is what the invitation is supposed to look like. Come on, open up. All embossed, fancy schmancy paper, really, really beautiful. These are the invitations, okay? So, those are the invitations. Pamela's own, she gets hers. She's a manager of this and a social enterprise that helps those recovering from mental health issues. Of course, I was doing mind body work. G4S took all of these things. Don't even get me involved in the mental health issues. Wait until you see the records that they got from me in 2011. G4S had nothing. In fact, neither did the British. According to the palace, there was no official UK overseas guest or the wedding guest. Let me get this straight. Prime Minister May is not invited, but they have this huge international to-do going on with children. Oh, come on, folks, this is juvenile. What a setup. How did she get hers? How did this lady get hers? She said, I got an email informing me, and I thought it was an April Fool's joke. The Mother 3 describes the honor as truly unbelievable. So they're supposed to get this beautiful, wonderful invitation, and she got her beautiful, wonderful invitation, gold embossed, sent itself through the email. Right. Okay. We're going to go and see. Well, there we go. Let's put you on pause. Okay, this is when I first spoke about what the problems was with the father. And we're going to go to that section. Pardon me. Here we go, May the 9th. All right. Let's put you on pause. And I might add, I'm afraid that they've already killed Markle. I mean, I've thought for a long time that he isn't quite right. So let's go to, turn this on, and then I'm going to go up to 1304. Then we'll go back to the beginning. I've already handled some of these things. Hi, this is Lynn Schnebly with Education. To be looking at. Her dad looks like he's under surveillance. I've been questioning all along. I think it's part of the line of Judah. This was before they reported that it was a trumped-up scheme. I actually taped this before that. So you've got some interesting things you're going to be looking at. Shut that again. Her dad looks like he's under surveillance. I've been questioning all along. I think it's part of the line of Judah. I think he's going to show up. He's not a free man. Every picture that's shown of him, if he's under surveillance, he's got things from the back. He's got his head that's down. He's getting a tape measure now going around his body. It looks like it's in an outside vending. It looks like an outside vending shop. This is not a real tuck shop who would be... I mean, if he wanted to be private and not have anybody look... Let's go back here. So you've got some interesting things you're going to be looking at. Her dad... Now, I'm going to speak for just a moment. They're lying about setting up the video shoots. Because if you're going to bother... If you are going to bother to set up a whole video shoot thing to make it look good, they would bother to go to a real tailor. Come on, folks. If they were to bother to set up a real video shoot, they would go to a real tailor. This man is forced to do things against his will. And it's coming from the whole scam of the marriage. And we don't even know if he's alive anymore. It's convenient how he's in the hospital now and he's had a heart attack. This is ridiculous. This is so sick, so sickening in how you're using children. It's so sickening. It's just so sickening. Oh. Let's do it. Looks like he's under surveillance. I've been questioning all along. I think it's part of the line of Judah. I think he's going to show up. He's not a free man. Every picture that's shown of him, if he's under surveillance, he's got things from the back. He's got his head that's down. He's getting a tape measure now going around his body. It looks like it's in an outside vending. It looks like an outside vending shop. This is not a real tuck shop who would be doing this. What's going on here? I mean, if he wanted to be private and not have anybody look at him, he would do it in a really private location. He wouldn't have the I can never say this, the whatever they are, coming into the store with them and taking pictures of him while he's doing it. Clearly, the whole thing is a setup. And it's not a real formal tux place. I mean, come on. England! How stupid is your press? How stupid are the Americans? Like, all of a sudden, hold on. Stupid is your press. How stupid are the Americans? You're just so too dainty. Sorry, I'm trying to miss this. But there.
So too damn stupid.
I'm sorry.
And I mean that. It's insulting. So don't sit there.
You have destroyed this man's life.
The Americans are the stupid ones. I'm here to wake up the Americans. I am here to wake up the Americans. You are so arrogant. You are so arrogant to do what you're doing. This is incredible. And these are Americans that you're doing this to. Why? Because you wanted the United States for your real estate, and Obama and that group wanted the great Africans. And you're not good for anybody. But I will get into the offer I put forward, because that's an important offer, and you're going to see that I reached out to the British. I have dual Canadian citizenship, and my case travels right back to the Law Society and the falsification that's been going on within the Francophone community in Canada, how it falsely held things together. England and the Francophones held back on the Union of North America. Period. This case from the New Brunswick Law Society, and when I say that I prophesized that war and brought all these things together about family and falsification, take a look at when it closed. It closed April the 1st, 2000, and see things about wars.
It wasn't 2013.
You're going to see
Hold
the
on.
prophecy. You're going to see.
It wasn't 2013. It was April the 1st, 2003. So let's go back. Well, no, we're not going to go back. So that's when it was. And you want to know something? I'm really angry about what happened here, but wait until you see what these people have done to me. And then you'll understand the stupidity, and they have done this to this man. They've destroyed his life. People, you should sit up and really pay attention to what's happening, because this is how they treat human beings when they have an agenda. But it's more than that. It's what they're putting out through the internet and through the Wi-Fi. I'm waking you up, and I'm trying to wake you up, because I think it's subliminal. I think people are not getting what's happening. So let's continue.
See my dates and how the government is falling right into place, as well as the Canadians.
Okay, so let's look at that.
How stupid of you, British press. How utterly maniacal of the Americans. And when I'm finished, I went to a women's college. I was abused as a woman. I was abused by my husband. I went to Seneca Falls, the high school that was there. I fought for women. I fought for minorities.
You're going, and I know you're saying, oh my goodness, why is she so angry? Now take a look at some of the things they're doing. We're not kidding about what's going on here.
Hi, this is Lynn Schnebly with Educating with Wisdom. I received an invitation at the end of the end of January 2016, after I contacted the German embassy looking for asylum. I was very tired of being hacked into. Nobody is helping me. Here we go. This is who he was, and I asked why wasn't the eager lion used, because I had gone in and complained that this is biblical and they are setting up Armageddon. Here we go. It's Operation Inherent Resolve. He took that over. They took that over and changed it from the eager lion after I went into Senator Sachs' office in Florida explaining what's happening and told them that they can't do this anymore. Now we're going to look at the German account so that you see it. Actually, we'll look at Facebook first. We're taping this on 4/18/2018. If you can see, it says there are no posts in January whatsoever, no posts in February. Let's go out of hidden others post to me. Let's just put it under other posts to me. It says these are not even here, January 2016, and yet you're going to see that I have all this information coming from this man that I took screenshots of. Here's January 2016, up to 3 weeks ago. They had removed all of his posts, saying that it needed to be removed because it was dangerous, but they left my post there. So now we're going to go in and see the screenshots of my posts. Here is the invitation that I received on 1/30/2016 to be friends with this man. He calls himself Beastly Clyde. It is in fact General Terry.
I'm wondering if this is playing. Where is this? Oh, it is playing. Okay. You can go back.
Hackers, the government, are answering what I've asked the Germans. Let's go back to what the initial conversation was.
Pay attention.
Here is our conversation. Here's the date, 1/31, although it's been removed.
You're going to see that Facebook just took his conversation off and then just removed it. I'm not a little whistleblower, folks. Okay, I'm not a little whistleblower. I'm not a little whistleblower. I'm serious when you see the work that I've been doing. Moved completely. He again contacts me. I speak to him. You'll see that I am discussing. And Facebook went through and removed all this information. By the way, I had gotten another new phone at this time. I took a screenshot of this. They gave me 3 notices that they wrecked my new phone in December, and they were on it immediately. I got 3 different emails telling me that, and then immediately they were on my cell phone. Here we are. He wants to be my friend. Okay, here I did this on 3/15/2018. I haven't gone in and removed anything from Facebook. So the first thing you saw was the actual posting. Then you saw that there was nothing there for him. Then you saw the actual posting. Here it is. The picture has been removed. This was back in March. So they've even finagled with this even more. Here we go, January 2015. This is my information. Here we go, my messenger, my posting. And then all of a sudden, here we go, you'll see that this message was removed because it contains blocked or harmful content from him. There we go. That's what I wrote. And they took everything out, and they have since taken everything out that I've written. Okay, here I've called them for 2 months, and I know that I'm going to look for asylum in Germany. Please take a look at this. This is in normal print. And I'm showing them that they are not getting the mail, that I've sent them the package. It was accepted at this point, and I mailed this. I'm contacting them now on the 14th. I end up having to
Look at the print.
fax them information from a private agency. Let's take a look at what happens to that mail when it's sent back. Here we go. This is the situation here. I have to go into Germany. I would have to, they've never heard of an American getting it, but look at what they did to my original document, my hackers. They picked it up January the 14th at 9 o'clock. They picked up what I gave, underlined it, and changed the font color. That's when the Germans found out that I was for real. Here we go. This is what they say sincerely. They've never heard of an American getting asylum in Germany. That would have been the country I could go to other than going to Mexico or to Russia. Here we go. I'm telling them that they spend their time just laughing at me on the other side. Who knows if I'll get this onto Facebook. And here I make it clear that I should make something clear. Unlike Snowden, I never took anything on the originator of information. Okay, I am the originator, and I go on to discuss what's going on.
Okay, we don't need to do anymore.
Here they have finally.
All right, here we go. Let's put this one on pause. Let's go out here. Pause.
Oh my goodness, it's so late. Okay, to reiterate, this is the pre-war. I did not know about the Five Eyes when I was handing things out. Here's this. All right, here's the pre-war. Now, this is why the military and everybody looks after me. All right, remember I mentioned before, you've got to look out for the moon. So here we are, we're in Cancer. You've got the Five Eyes. They're using the occult. They're black, like the solemn. When I first saw this, I knew that I saw what was attacking me. It looks like Uncle Sam. He looks like a joker, but he also looks a little bit like Dr. John Zuley. All right, the Five Eyes. Here, it's Solomon, because Solomon was an evil occultist. Okay, somebody that has all those wives, you're only allowed to have one, is somebody that doesn't even understand what a woman is. He wasn't wise, he was stupid. And, evil, evil, evil. Okay, so here we go. They're black. They're not white. It's in July, but it lets us know they're the Five Eyes, and it's the 5th house. Okay? The 3rd This is the third house. This is the house of communication. So this is up in space. They're letting you know that it's in space. It's very dark. This is really high in space. This is in July. This is also in space, but not as high. So that means whatever cyber stalking or they're dealing with, it's even higher than where the normal communications are. Now take a look at the dragon. Here we have the ninth house, and it's going to be Elon Musk. It's going to be incredible. So we have the 9 thrusters that are going in here, but it's the ninth house, the house over communications. As it turns out, Old Sam is Uncle Sam. Old Sam is Satan. The dragon is for Elon Musk. It also goes back to Prince Charles. He has the Merlin. He says that he has the falcon, but the falcon is also a Merlin, and the Merlin goes back to Wales, which goes back to Prince Charles. He has the 9 Merlin thrusters in here. This is all Prince Charles. All right? But the amazing thing, do you see that right here? The dragon is going up in flames in July. On his birthday, June the 28th, 2015, when Jupiter was in Leo, he lost one of his ships. It went up in flames. Elon Musk did. He lost one of these things. Raytheon, these are the kinds of things I find. When I find them, I get into all kinds of trouble. This is why I'm so hacked into. You're going to see some pretty amazing stuff here. Raytheon, ray of God, Revelations 9, except ray of God means ray of the God in the actual Greek, and it refers back to Apollo. So that is a nasty ray of God, and the Americans took that on. So the British took on the red dragon, and the Americans took on Apollo. So I guess if you ask for Apollo, you get Apollo. They changed their name in 1959. I have a feeling all of these things had to do something with the Russians going up in space. And by the way, the Russians have now the Federation, and they've never come up with a demonic name. The United States military, just like, this is what I first reported to the Law Society in 2001. Pardon me. It comes right out of Revelation 9. Raytheon has picked it up. The sheriff program. All right, it causes a burning sensation. It comes out radioactive pulses of millimeters. It causes unbearable stinging. This is all seen in Revelations 9. And I go back to Tom, and I go back to these people, and I not these people here, but I go back to Tom McGuire, and I say, you cannot use this program. I go into SAC's office. I say, you cannot use these things. And this is when we're, again, Jupiter is in Leo in 2014, so I'm putting my foot down. The 5th angel is Leo, but it's also affiliated with Apollo. The bottomless pit. That is earlier in Revelations 5, and the one over the bottomless pit is not Christ. That is, it gets so much worse. This bottomless pit, I thought it had to do with the oil fields earlier, and may end up going back to that. Jupiter and Leo charts. This is what the Law Society first got. D-Day was when Jupiter was in Leo. And then the military got it, and you'll see it. Thomas McGuire, John, we all went to the prom together. 1978 was the last time we were in the same region in the Finger Lakes. We said goodbye to each other. I was still finishing college. Tom and John has graduated. All right. They moved this around. The next time Jupiter is in Leo, my husband, I had to go to Germany. He was German. I went. I didn't want to go. Our marriage fell apart after that. It was a terrible time, but I was there in 1990, 1991, just when Jupiter was in Leo. And the next time Jupiter is in Leo, Tom tells me that he was there then, about 200 miles from me, and 250, and John turns out to have been there. Now, we went to school in a little puddle in upstate New York. And here we are when Jupiter goes into Leo here in the Middle East, and here it is again. Oh, wait a minute, it was 2003. Oh, there it is. There's 1990, 2003, okay? And now, at this point, they're actually picking their wars, and you'll see the dates are actually predicated. And all three of us are only in the same area when Jupiter is in Leo. And we're doing it internationally as well. And then when Jupiter goes into Leo again, in 2014, 2015, the war again takes place, and it's almost 12 years to the day. They went a little later because that's what I'd warned them they had to do. And this is where the Law Society closes this up on that. I mean, that's when that opens. Oh, here's the thing about O being again, because we are looking at the red dragon and O being. All right, here we go. Tom McGuire, 1/17/03. This is before the war. We're talking about astrology, but I'm talking about string theory. It's about string theory, and he knows this from earlier on. All right? And I do biblical studies and string theory. Here we go. Also work with primary archetypes and paradigms. This is February the 21st. I think the next one's actually the 20th. February the 20th, so we'll go back there. Tom, I'll make this brief, then we'll go back to the 21st. I do not know what to make of this. Normally I only get sick when I don't want to do something that I'm supposed to do. Regarding the issue of the war, you know that I've been very concerned that the U.S. doesn't go in during Aries. Aries is new beginnings, but it's also the god of war. It can be very selfish. So I looked at the beginning of what I thought were good American wars. The Revolution, the battles of Lexington and Concord, April the 19th, the Civil War, April the 12th. U.S. enters World War I, April the 6th, and all of these started in Aries, and the outcome was correct. With this in mind, my fear of Aries may well be unfounded, and I cannot believe I'm going to say this. Aries may be the best case scenario for us. Listen up, people. If you would, I do not wish you to break what we said you would do, but you have my book, so would you please go into the day you were born and tell me what the two signs were for each of the above dates for December the 8th, that we entered World War II, and I know that this discount for that time is in Aries. Aries gives a shade to that part of December. Likewise, April the 12th and 19th are favored by Sagittarius, and April the 6th is favored by Leo. The time of the Sagittarius discount is considered to be the more mature, balanced, and least impulsive time in Aries, and the Leo discount is second and early in Aries is supposed to be the most difficult, although clearly World War I was much shorter than the other two wars. For us, for the Americans, Sagittarius is known for its endurance. Would a strong Aries war be shorter? Not that I want any war. So remember, Aries could be the most difficult, but I'm asking, what a strong Sagittarian war. Do you want to go in for the long haul? And they didn't. All right, so let's go back here. Tom, I realize that you're going home and that you do not have time to do this right now, but when you get back, if you could, I slept on the issues of what I wrote to you yesterday. If we go in Aries this time around, there's a real lineup of firepower. We have all three of the fire signs acting all together, and Pluto, which magnifies the leads through chaos until 2008, is sitting in Sagittarius. At that time, Jupiter will be in Sagittarius, and we should be loud as to what needs to happen. I just listened to my messages. Okay, so let's go in and do some more. And of course, the Law Society closes as soon as they close the case as soon as I'm done. Tom sends me these things. We're hoping for peace. Now, I had to correct this on March the 18th. Bush Senior went in on the cusp of Capricorn and Aquarius. It was actually Pisces and Aries. All right? And I'm speaking to him as well. There are other emails. This is what I pulled off. If Bush Jr. goes before the 20th, the cusp is still Pisces and Aquarius. No, it was Pisces and before, and I mean the 20th, not then. Look at what I'm writing. If he goes before the 20th of March, we're still on the cusp of Pisces and Aquarius. If he waits just a few days, we'll be Aquarius, and this was all wrong, and I knew that. I mean, I'm so tired as I'm writing it. Here we go. So I then contacted him. I go back and I say Aries. So he should not go before the 20th. If it was Aquarius and Pisces, you'd already be in Pisces. So we already know this is March the 18th. I don't want him to go in before the 20th. That would be a mistake. They go in. Now let me explain what happens here. This is one of the last things he sends me, other than what I sent him there on the 18th. On the 15th, he sends this to me. In January of that year, I said to Tom, every time there is a major war that we get pulled into, it's international and we're supposed to go into it, there is a major assassination or turmoil that happens in Yugoslavia. World War I, World War II. If I take a look at the 1991, huge problems in Yugoslavia. And I said, if there's another huge problem in Yugoslavia, we're going into this war. Not that I wanted to go into the war, we didn't. And Tom McGuire came back and gave me this on 3/15, letting me know that the Serbian Prime Minister had been assassinated. There's this he sends me. There's that I sent him, telling them not to go in don't go in before the 20th. And ladies and gentlemen, on the 20th of March, Bush goes in and they are bombing the Iraqis, Baghdad. Boom. They were covering me from top to bottom the whole time I was doing this. And then they go in and they do this. And they turned around and they did it again. When I told them they couldn't use the lion, and I didn't even know about the eager lion, they dropped the eager lion and they came up with something else, infinite resolve, and then they put the Saudis involved in it, and they went down on the 26th of March because I told them earlier that, you don't want to go in on the cusp. And I've got all the documentation for all this stuff. And then it happens again. And then here's the whole thing you're going to see about the Law Society. And the Law Society closes the case at the same time, and I'm telling them about the language arts assessment in New Brunswick and how the whole thing's been fabricated, how it does not support the bilingual system in Canada. I mean, folks, okay, I think that's it for tonight.